1 year after the devastating war in October 2023, the Gaza Strip remains a land scarred by conflict and trapped in a cycle of violence. Despite international efforts to broker a lasting ceasefire, tensions remain high, and the humanitarian situation remains dire. The Strip is grappling with a multitude of challenges, from a crippled infrastructure to a struggling economy, leaving its residents in a state of perpetual uncertainty. The specter of renewed conflict hangs heavy in the air. Sporadic rocket fire from Gaza continues to target Israeli communities, met with swift retaliatory strikes from the Israeli Defense Forces. This cycle of violence, while not reaching the intensity of the previous year's conflict, serves as a constant reminder of the fragility of the situation. The international community, though vocal in its condemnation of the violence, appears to have made little progress in addressing the root causes of the conflict. The lack of a unified approach, coupled with the deeply entrenched positions of the parties involved, makes finding a lasting solution an increasingly elusive goal. As we mark the first anniversary of the 2023 war, the question remains, is Gaza closer to peace or further down the path of destruction? The answer, unfortunately, seems to be the latter, with the region teetering on the brink of yet another devastating chapter in its long and bloody conflict. The past year has been marked by a series of significant events that have shaped the trajectory of the Gaza conflict. In the immediate aftermath of the ceasefire agreement, there was a glimmer of hope as both sides engaged in indirect negotiations mediated by Egypt. These talks, however, quickly faltered over key issues such as the reconstruction of Gaza and the release of prisoners. Tensions escalated further in February 2024, when a series of clashes erupted along the border fence separating Gaza from Israel. These clashes, sparked by protests against the ongoing blockade of the Strip, resulted in numerous Palestinian casualties and drew condemnation from international human rights organizations. Adding fuel to the fire was the rise of a new militant group within Gaza, calling itself the Sons of the Sword. This group, believed to be more radical than Hamas, has claimed responsibility for numerous rocket attacks against Israel, further undermining the already fragile ceasefire. In June 2024, a change in government in Israel brought with it a shift in policy towards Gaza. The new right-wing coalition government, led by a hardline prime minister, adopted a more aggressive stance, vowing to respond to any attacks from Gaza with even greater force. This shift in rhetoric has heightened fears of another major escalation in the conflict.
Despite the ongoing violence, international diplomatic efforts to broker a lasting ceasefire have continued, albeit with limited success. Egypt, which has long played a mediating role between Israel and Hamas, has hosted several rounds of indirect talks. These talks, however, have been plagued by mistrust and a lack of progress on key issues. The United States, under the Biden administration, has also stepped up its diplomatic engagement in the region. Special Envoy for the Middle East peace process has made numerous trips to the region, meeting with Israeli, Palestinian, and Egyptian officials in an attempt to revive the stalled peace process. However, these efforts have yet to yield any tangible results. Qatar, which has provided significant financial aid to Gaza in recent years, has also played a role in mediation efforts. The Gulf state has facilitated the transfer of funds to Hamas, which it views as a means of stabilizing the situation in Gaza and preventing a humanitarian catastrophe. However, this approach has drawn criticism from Israel and its allies, who accuse Qatar of funding terrorism. The failure of these diplomatic efforts can be attributed to a number of factors. The most significant is the deep mistrust between the parties involved. Hamas continues to view Israel as an illegitimate entity and refuses to renounce violence. Israel, for its part, views Hamas as a terrorist organization and refuses to negotiate with it directly.
The conflict in Gaza, while geographically confined to a small strip of land, has far-reaching implications for the entire Middle East. The repeated outbreaks of violence have exacerbated tensions between Israel and its Arab neighbors, hindering efforts to normalize relations and promote regional cooperation. The conflict has also fueled anti-Semitism and Islamophobia globally, as extremist groups exploit the situation to spread their hateful ideologies. This, in turn, has led to an increase in hate crimes and discrimination against Jewish and Muslim communities around the world. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza, with its dire living conditions and lack of basic necessities, has also had a destabilizing effect on the region. The flow of refugees from Gaza into neighboring countries has strained resources and fueled social tensions. Moreover, the conflict has diverted international attention and resources away from other pressing issues in the region, such as the ongoing civil war in Syria and the humanitarian crisis in Yemen. This has made it even more challenging to address these crises and find lasting solutions.